Eagle 95.1, WUPN, Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from coaches and players involved in The Game. Now, let's join Scott Nason at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan for tonight's broadcast of The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it, all about your day. And if you can play it, it's all about pain. And who's gonna make it?
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to The Game on this Monday night, April 1st, 2019. Scott Nason broadcasting from the studios of Eagle 95.1 WUPN in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. We'll be back at our regular site and host, the Wicked Sister, next Monday night. The Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. The Game is heard several nights in Sault, Michigan, and several times in Sault, Ontario on the website, thegamesportshow.com. You can also go to thegamesportshow.podbean.com. If you're a YouTube user, you can find us on YouTube. Just look up the Scott Nason channel and make sure you find all our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram. Just look up thegamesportshow.com. Coming up on tonight's show, we'll hear from Butch Davis from Butch On Sports, who will give us an update on the Metro Detroit sports scene. We'll also talk to E.J. Russell, our correspondent from Escanaba, Michigan, during the second hour roundtable, along with this gentleman who joins us right now from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. His name is Dave McCaig. He is host of the Game Sports Show in Sault, Ontario, which you can hear live at Sports Center Bar and Grill, Northern Superior Brewery, and Icebreakers inside the John Rhodes Community Center. He's been with us since the beginning. He's a good man. He's handsome, and he's talented as well. He's the perfect catch for you ladies out there, but he is not single. Dave McCaig joining us on The Game. Kegger, how do you like that introduction tonight?
Well, I like it. It's different. It's good. I'm feeling good. I missed you, Scotty. Now, let's get real, though, okay? It's not me who's a good-looking one on this panel, okay? It's you, and you know that, my good friend.
I appreciate it, Dave, and flattery gets you everywhere, including on this show. So thanks for joining us. Hey, Dave, we got a lot to talk about here, so let's get right to it. What do you say?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Let's start with the Soo Greyhounds, Dave. When we last spoke, at least on this show at the Wicked Sister, the Hounds were in a bit of a battle, and I say that now almost jokingly because it really wasn't as much of a battle as we maybe thought last week. The Soo Greyhounds ended up winning the their quarterfinal series against the Owen Sound Attack. They won both games in Owen Sound by a 5-2 count, and then Friday night at the Memorial Gardens, over 4,500 fans saw the Greyhounds take care of Owen Sound, winning by the score of 7-4, winning that quarterfinal series by a 4-1 count in Game 5. Morgan Frost had a pair of goals, while Jaden Pekka had 3 assists for the second game in a row. So the Hounds will advance, as did every top seed in the OHL. It was not much competition in the OHL quarterfinals. As a matter of fact, only, I think, 3 series went 4-1. All the rest were sweeps. And so the top dogs are in it in both the East and the West. Dave, the Hounds will start their Western Conference semifinal series against a very good Saginaw team. That series schedule was set yesterday. Games 1 and 2 will be in Saginaw this Friday and Sunday. And games 3 and 4 will be at the Memorial Gardens next Tuesday, April 9th. And Thursday, April 11th, Game 5 would be in Saginaw on Friday. And then if it got to 6, it would be back in the Soo a week from Sunday. So, Dave, the Hounds take care of business. But now it gets tough for the Hounds as they're going to go on the road to start a playoff series for the first time in, I think, 3 years, taking on a Saginaw team. Before we get to that series, Dave, your thoughts on the Hounds' victory over Owen Sound and getting ready for what should be a battle against Saginaw?
Oh, it's going to be an absolute, let's say, battle's putting it lightly, actually, the way I want to put it. I think people in the first round with the Hounds, when they lost that first game, okay, that's where people are like, oh, here we go, okay? And Oshawa came out, Owen Sound, they came out with a bite, the vengeance that game. They just played the Hounds are just caught flat-footed, and they got the win, but the Hounds definitely bounced back, obviously. And as predicted on our Tuesday show, and as we predicted numerous times throughout the entirety of the show through our panel, the Hounds did win in 5 games. And they were the better team in that series, rightfully so. But like you said, a lot of the first rounds were not that – I don't want to say not entertaining, mind you, but I want to say that they weren't really a challenge for the higher seed teams. But now this is where the Hounds have their challenge. Okay, they have – an absolute big challenge against Saginaw. And you and I, Scott, myself and Brad Cochimilio, myself, Justin, even myself and Dane have talked about numerous times that when you have a challenge like this, the Hounds have to be prepared for it from the start of the game in game one. Saginaw is not the type of team you want to get behind early in a game, the type of team you don't want to get behind early in a series. It's anything. The Hounds have to come out banging and win and try to steal at least one on the road. I think that should be a reasonable goal for the Hounds against Saginaw, is try to get that one win on the road, because if they're able to do so, okay, they are going to come back here with a chance of the series split against in a rocking house here at the GFL Memorial Gardens. And with Saginaw, they're impressive, Scotty. I'm not saying that in a way that I'm feared for the Hounds, but Saginaw is a very good hockey team. They're not the Owen Sound attack. Okay, they're a team that I think are the real deal. They made some good moves at the deadline to get to this point. They already had a very good team before the deadline. And also a lot of these guys were part of the team last year that the Hounds swept. So, there's a little bit of vengeance behind everything too there, which is pretty dangerous when it comes to a hockey series, let me tell you. So I think the Hounds' key to success here, they have to be the team that comes on top early. They have to try to win that first game on the road. They have to try to come back home with a split series at least, and they have to match Saginaw's hard two-way and hard physical game. Saginaw is a team that is not afraid to take the body. They're not afraid to shoot the puck. They're not afraid to do anything. They're an absolute lethal team. And I've said this from the start as well. The winner of this series between the Hounds and Saginaw will be the team to move on the OHL championship. I'm saying that early. It's not going to be London. I don't think London has the strength to compete with Saginaw, and they obviously haven't been able to keep up with the Hounds all year, has not London. So Saginaw and the Hounds, this is the series to watch in this current round of playoffs for the Ontario Hockey League.
Yeah, Dave, you look at this Saginaw squad. The Hounds and Saginaw played 8 times this year. Saginaw did win the season series 4-3-1. And you look at the Saginaw roster, they have 9 NHL draft picks already. At forward, Brady Gilmore, he's a 7th rounder for the Red Wings. Blade Jenkins, a 5th rounder from the Islanders. Owen Tippett, he's a 1st round pick for the Florida Panthers, 2007. You got a 2nd rounder, Ryan McLeod, forward for Saginaw. He's an Edmonton draft pick. And then you have a few others on defense. Boyd Wild, 2nd round pick from the New York Islanders. Then you have an Arizona goaltender with the 4th round pick there, Ivan Prositov. And, speaking of goaltenders, Dave, Matthew Villalta, we've talked a lot about him over the past couple seasons. Last year, I wouldn't say he was the reasons the Hounds didn't win, but he was the reason that they didn't win, as far as, he didn't make the saves that he needed to. And now he's one of the older goaltenders. And you look at London, you look at Saginaw, and you look at the Hounds. You should think that the Hounds would have the edge in goaltending there, Villalta having more experience. Does it really come down to him, in your opinion, in this series for the Hounds to advance? Obviously, the whole team's going to have to play well, but the pressure's really on Villalta in this series, is it not?
Oh, that is, Scotty, that is right on the money, my friend. I'll say right now that Villalta, last year's playoff run, he was not who he, was not the goalie that the Los Angeles Kings drafted in the 3rd round, okay? There was a goalie that let a lot of goals in. There was games where he did face a good number of shots, mind you, but he wasn't really, and this might sound kind of harsh, but he wasn't able to really make that second save. Now, people wonder, okay, the goalies have to just make the first save. Okay, the reason why people say that goalie has to make the first save, that's if their goalie's not good enough to make the second save. Okay, and Villalta is good enough to make that second, that third, fourth, and fifth save. And that's what his expectations are, especially being a National Hockey League draft pick in the top 3 rounds. And Villalta was not able to make that second save last series. He would let goals in from odd corners. He would let in rebounds. Is that second save I was talking about. There was a goalie there that was not himself last playoffs, in my opinion. Some games he was bang on. Some games he got the job done. But I'll say 75%, maybe a little high, but I'm going to round it up a little bit of points there, that he was not what he should have done last year. And for the Hounds to win this series, yes, Barrett Hayton has to be scoring goals. Morgan Frost has to be fired. Jordan Sambrook, who I love on that D-core, my favorite D-man, Mac Hollowell, as we all know, is a Leaf draft pick, and that not being biased by saying that. But they have some impressive talent that can get the job done. But the big point that's going to be able to stop the firepower that Saginaw has is Villalta. If without Villalta, the Hounds, if he's out of the game, if he's that goalie that he was last year's playoffs, they will not get past Saginaw, not even close. The series will be done in 5 games, maybe even 4 at that current point. So at the end of the day, for the Hounds to be successful, Matthew Villalta has to bring his A game. And if he doesn't, the Hounds are in deep trouble.
One other note on the Hounds, Dave. Obviously, we talk a lot about the individuals that you mentioned, but 2 players I think that have really had great ends of the season and playoffs so far is Alex Johnson, rookie forward for the Hounds. He was a 7th or 6th round pick last year. He's done very well. And the addition of Jaden Pekka, 6 assists in the last 2 games. I mean, these are 2 guys that are quietly really having a good playoff series so far.
They are absolutely doing great. And one big, you said his name at the top of it. I'm a big fan of what Jaden Pekka has done. Okay. Like I really think that the additions of the draft that they've done the past couple of years, the Hounds have really developed nicely. You have to give kudos to the Greyhound scouting staff. Absolutely. Because the scouting for this team for the past, not this year, not just last year, not the year before, heck, not even the year before that, for the past handful plus years, they have been able to ice a very competitive hockey team because of their drafting, because of their trading, because of everything. And that's where, yes, I want to point out Johnson, just like yourself, Scott, and a good amount of the young guys are doing well. Cole McKay, who's eligible for the National Hockey League draft. Yes, they're doing great. They're doing their own. But I want to even backtrack it more to, like I said, with the management staff and the scouting, which has been absolutely amazing because they found the right kids. 6th round pick. Johnson's playing like a top 3 round pick right now. Okay, that's where he's playing. That's the level that he's playing at. And you find these players, you give them the opportunity of good scouting, and they have the right fit. They gel, and they end up making a career for themselves in the Ontario Hockey League and hopefully beyond that. So I'm definitely impressed overall with just, yes, the rookies, like you said, Scotty, but also the depth of the Hounds. And you're not just hearing Barrett Hayton. You're not just hearing Morgan Frost. You're not just hearing those 2 names, or even Matthew Villalta. You're hearing Pekka. You're hearing Johnson. You're hearing Cole McKay is doing well. You know, you have obviously the presence on the blue line with Hollowell and also with Sambrook, but the overall depth of the Hounds is very impressive. And that's where you got to give credit to the coaching and the management staff for getting the right guys together. And that is why the Hounds have been so successful this year. Hey, this is a team that everyone thought would be a 7th seed this year in the playoffs. Okay, this is where everyone thought this was a playoff team, but we thought maybe Morgan Frost would be gone by the deadline. Heck, even Barrett Hayton. But those guys are still here. They finished top 3 in the conference, and they did it for a reason because they're deep and also because of their scouting.
The Hounds, again, start their playoff series against Saginaw Friday night in Saginaw. Other series, Dave, quickly in the West, London, the top seed. They're taking on the Guelph Storm, and out east, Ottawa takes on Sudbury, Niagara, and Oshawa. I think the East is a little more clear than the West, Dave, as far as who should win. Ottawa is loaded. I saw them when they played the Hounds in the regular season, their only trip here, and they just absolutely ran roughshod over the Hounds that night, and they've been running roughshod over about anybody. Sudbury, they had a good playoff series against Mississauga, but this is a whole nother story, in my opinion, against Ottawa. Niagara, Oshawa, I think that could be one series that goes deep into that one. Both those teams loaded. And then London and Guelph. London probably the favorite, but Guelph, they've quietly had a pretty good season as well. Dave, any chances for any upsets in those other series, in your opinion?
I'm laughing here because I really don't see any really upsets, Scotty. I think, I don't know, we've seen upsets in the Ontario Hockey League. Don't get me wrong. Heck, the Hounds won as a 7th seed a couple years ago to move on in the second round. So upsets do happen. But where you allude to with Ottawa, oh, that team is pretty. That's all I want to say. When they were here against the Hounds, I unfortunately couldn't attend the game with you there, but seeing the tape, seeing stuff that Brad has also shown to me and watching them on TV and the roster that they have, that's the best team in that conference. That's who's walking out of that conference. I really think, though, it's going to all depend. I'm a big fan of upsets in playoffs, but Scott, just keep it simple here. I don't really see an upset happening. And I'm not sure if you agree on your end, but this OHL playoffs seems like the top teams are going to be the teams to go on. It's been that way in the other conference. It seems that going on from the first round on the east side, it's almost status quo as the west side. It's literally almost the same thing. And as you said with Ottawa, I think they're favorites to win the title, rightfully so. And I really ultimately don't think there's any team that can topple them.
Dave McCaig joining us on the game from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Dave, let's move on to the NOJHL. When we were here last week, we talked to Sioux Eagles head coach Doug LaPrade. The Eagles couldn't quite make the comeback, being down 0-3. They fell to Rayside Balfour in 6 games, losing Game 6 at Puller Stadium by the score of 4-0. So the Sioux Eagles season is over. And the Soo Thunderbirds also took 6 games to take care of their semifinal opponent in the West in the Blind River Beavers. And the Western Final opened up this weekend at the John Rhodes Community Center. First game won by the T-Birds by the score of 4-1 as Lucas Terrio. He had a pair of goals and an assist in that one. And then last night it was Giordano Biondi. He scored the game-winning goal in overtime to lift the Rayside Balfour Canadians to a 4-3 win over the Soo Thunderbirds. That series now tied 1 game apiece. Games 3 and 4 will be at Rayside Balfour this Wednesday and Thursday. Dave, to me, this series seems like one that's going to go the distance. These are 2 very good teams in a very competitive division, in a very competitive Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League. Split on the road, I can see this one being split in Chelmsford, and really I think this one's destined for 6 or 7 games. What say you?
Oh, absolutely. If it goes under 6 games, I'd be extremely surprised. That is for sure. I really think this is going to go 7 games as well. The reason being is because you just alluded to it, Scotty. It's just because how both deep both teams are, how strong they are, both sides. But I am really impressed, of the defensive play from both teams. Okay, now, when you think of the modern day hockey, you think when you think of defensemen, you think of maybe defensemen jumping in the rush all the time, offensive defensemen that set that quarterback play and be that presence on the ice that really stands out. But not even just that with these players. They are playing that kind of style hockey. It's not like old days hockey where you have a defenseman like Scott Stevens rolling you over from center ice and send you into the locker room. These defensive cores on both teams are playing some smart hockey. And seeing both those games on the live tapes, unfortunately was unable to make the game this week due to some personal matters going on. So I was unable to make the games, but we did have a representative from the Game Sports Show in attendance, and the analysis that I was getting, also just the after play from listening and watching the after tapes with the Thunderbirds and the Canadians games in quick view, was just the overall impressiveness of the D, how they're able to really be contained. They don't look rushed, these D-men on both teams. The offense looks like they're absolutely just everyone wants to score goals. Everyone's just all over the place, grinding hard, doing what a lot of speedy forwards do. As all teams do have some speedy forwards there. But what's really going to come down in this series is not just the play of goaltender forwards. It's what I just said, the defensemen. If the defensemen can keep playing the way they're going to play, goals are going to come less in games. Each chance is truly going to matter. And each game will have to come down to, if you let that one goal in, that could be the deciding goal, because you have enough firepower offensively. Yes, it can get you more goals, but at the same time, you have the defensive side of the puck where they're able to stop the goals, and you have good goaltending on both ends. So what I was impressed of was both defensive teams play in both the games. And if that keeps up, Scotty, if that doesn't go 7 series, I don't know what would in any type of hockey. So I'm calling 7 games for both. I don't want to play favorites, but everyone knows where I live and who we cover here on the Game Sports Show in particular. And I'm sorry to Joe Bowen to say that, as I know he might hear me say that. But the Soo Thunderbirds, they, in my opinion, seem like the more all-around team, slightly more. Not by 20%, heck, barely by 10%. Just the overall with this team, I'd find it very difficult to see the Thunderbirds not move on in this series just because of the 2 games. But, again, it's playoff hockey and anything can happen.
Absolutely, Dave. Out east, it's Hearst leading Powassan 2-0 in the Eastern Final. Games 3 and 4 will be in Powassan this Wednesday and Thursday. And the Cochrane Crunch, the host of the Dudley Hewitt Cup, they were eliminated in the first round. They will host the Dudley Hewitt Cup later on this month. Dave, a couple other hockey notes here before we have one more on your side of the border. The MHSAA, in their winter meetings, they had the Ice Hockey Committee make a change as far as the 2019-2020 regular and postseason. The schools are in the midst of building their schedules for the sport, and the council approved a proposal that will change the number of weeks for the MHSAA tournament in ice hockey from 2 to 3. The way it's been set up before, the tournament didn't take very long to finish. Teams are playing a lot of games in a short period of time, and so now they will play the maximum 6 games, which is from the beginning of the start of regionals through the finals, over 20 days until the previous 13. So I think that's a good deal for the teams involved because you can get a lot of games played in a short period of time. And the NCAA hockey tournament took place this weekend at several sites with plenty of good seats available. In their annual tradition, the WCHA champion Minnesota State Mavericks, the team that knocked out the Lake Superior State University Lakers, well, they made it to the NCAA playoffs and once again lost. They've never won a game in the tournament. They were up 3-0 against Providence, but would fall to the Friars by the score of 6-3. Bowling Green, the other WCHA representative, they made a little better showing, but fell in overtime to defending national champion Minnesota Duluth 2-1. The upset of the tournament was Friday as AIC, American International College, knocked off the top seed in the tournament, St. Cloud, in the West Regional. Denver, they won the West by defeating AIC in the final 3-0 to advance to the Frozen Four. In Buffalo, they'll take on UMass, as UMass made their first ever Frozen Four as they knocked off Jeff Jackson and Notre Dame Sunday by the score of 4-0. Providence, they're in the Final Four again. They shut out Cornell 4-0. And Minnesota Duluth, they knocked out Quinnipiac 3-1. So the Frozen Four will take place on Thursday, April 11th in Buffalo. And we'll see the last 3 national champions all in the tournament as Providence will take on Minnesota Duluth. And UMass, they'll make their first ever appearance, as I mentioned, taking on Denver. And that bracket for me, a lot better than my basketball bracket, which we'll talk about later. Dave, the Soo College Cougars men's hockey team, you've talked a lot about them on your shows over in Soo, Ontario. Well, they are now the American Collegiate Hockey Association championship team, as this weekend they won over the Grand Valley State University Lakers in Dallas, Texas by the score of 12-3. They defeated the University of Michigan. Oh, how I love that, how that sounds. I don't care who's playing the University of Michigan. I love when they lose by the score of 4-2 in the semifinals. No Canadian men's team has ever won an ACHA championship, and, well, the Cougars did it in very dominating style, winning their first ever national championship in any varsity sport in the college's history. Dave, you talked a lot about the Soo College Cougars. This is a team that just ran roughshod over the competition. Your thoughts on, hey, bringing home a national title?
Oh, you know what? I was very excited because a couple of reasons. Obviously, I do know a good number of guys on the team, the coverage here on the show, obviously. Also, a good number of their players play on my men's open Mayors team. So, you know, they the guys like Ryan Vanderman, Austin Rowe, Kalen O'Flint are the guys that obviously I see on an often basis because of playing hockey with them. And getting in touch with both those guys, I am going to be having one of, if not more, of the Cougars on hopefully this week. We plan to have Ryan Vennerman on Thursday edition of our show, and we hope to have Austin Rowe as well just to talk about that because that's big. And you know what? I'm going to say flat out, I've had conversations with a lot of individuals who, you know, are very well known in hockey and have had different opinions. I've heard with the league, positives, negatives, you know, everything that you hear, and everyone has their own judgments and whatnot, but this is nothing trophy win. This is a national championship that this team has won. And like you said, Scotty, they did it in a fashion that left an exclamation mark. They went into games and absolutely dominated opponents, outplayed opponents, and they also made Sault Ste. Marie proud. And as we put on our Instagram page on at the Game Sports Show SSM, and we also shared on our Facebook page, was also at the Game Sports Show, you know, there was a lot of fans that were excited to see that with Soo College. And there's a lot of players that are on Soo College that have that junior experience, that have that OHL experience, aka Ryan Venderman. Also Austin Rowe, former Sioux Eagle. So these are a lot of guys, or people in Sault Ste. Marie should be very proud, be very excited, because you know what? This, in my opinion, I've talked about this a lot on the show, this age group that's currently playing for Soo College, I want this to almost be a role model for a lot of the youth hockey in Soo, Ontario, because Soo, Ontario used to be a dominant hockey town. They used to actually absolutely throttle teams, Scotty, and I was lucky to be a part of those teams a couple times. So, the way that Soo hockey development has been, maybe with the Soo Greyhounds being where they are, the Soo Thunderbirds being where they are every year. Soo Eagles also have a great class organization as well. You have the Soo College Cougars. Also the Soo Thunderbirds midget teams. I give credit to Alex Cruz and to Jamie Henderson, who put a lot of their time into the work. I just want the youth to look at this and be like, this is no joke. Soo College Cougars are champions in the Nationals because they're good enough to be. They're the first Canadian team to do so. And it's a very big deal, Scotty. And like you said, University of Michigan sounds great. I'm going to agree with you on that one. And just to see the guys that won, I know a lot of those guys, that just get that chance to play some more hockey and go to school at the same time, and they're able to win a championship like that and get a national title and a ring. You can't write up a better story than that. And anyone who wants to doubt anything with Soo College Cougars or the league, go ahead and so be it. Say what you'd like. Okay, but let's now say that this team won a Division III national championship. So obviously this team is the real deal. Obviously, I think there's rumors going around about this team potentially moving up next year. We'll see how that all goes. I have no facts to state with that. But they were absolutely exciting at the national tournament. I watched a lot of games online. They're able to share. They were very, let's say, poised to win, and that's why they were able to win that tournament, because they were the best team on that ice, and it's well-deservingly so. And I must say it's unfortunate that Austin Rowe, who's on our the Game Sports Show's Mayor's Men's Open team, actually hurt his ankle. He's out for the remainder of the year. He was unable to play in the finals in that, who was a big presence and assistant captain on the Soo College Cougars. But you know what? He was there to celebrate the championships himself. O'Flynn, Venderman, and the entire team were just so excited, and I'm happy for them. Congratulations to the Cougars.
Absolutely. Congratulations to the Soo College Cougars, national champions. I don't care how you any way you slice it. They won a title, and that is fantastic. Scott Nason and Dave McCaig here on the game. We've got about another 10 or so minutes in this segment. We'll be joined by Butch Davis from Butch On Sports coming up here in our next segment, who will talk about the Metro Detroit sports scene. And then myself, Dave, hopefully EJ Russell and Butch will be here in segment 3 for our roundtable, where we will have a lot to talk about. Before we get to a brief update on Toronto sports, Dave, got to cover a couple spring sports. Yes, it's the spring sports season here in northern Michigan, and the Lake Superior State University men's tennis team was in action Saturday at the Student Activity Center on the campus of Lake Superior State University, and they swept the Michigan Tech Huskies in men's tennis by a 7-0 count. So the Lakers 4-5 on the season, 2-2 in GLIAC play. They've already equaled their win total in conference last season. They'll be in action on the road this weekend, taking on Davenport and Purdue Northwest this Saturday and Sunday. And then the Laker men's tennis team will be here at home for their final 2 home matches of the season next weekend, next April 13th and 14th, as they will take on Ashland and Wayne State. And the high school baseball season is upon us, as we had a game Sunday at James Field. The athletic department at Soo High, along with several city workers, prison crews. We even got some volunteers all the way from Mexico who came up and cleared the snow, drained the swamp at James Field, and the Soo High Blue Devils, they were victorious over the Rudyard Bulldogs in high school baseball by the score of 25-24 in a game that took about 8 hours to play. Dave, it took a lot of hard work. All right, it's April 1st. That's my April Fool's joke. Ha, ha, ha. What do you think, Dave?
I like that. You know what? I actually thought I forgot that it was April Fool's Day, to be honest. I went to work today, and there was no jokes really played. You can't really do that in a professional environment, I guess, in human resources of the city.
No, not a good idea.
And probably not, but we made little jokes in the office about it, what we would say if we were able to do something. But you know what? April Fool's Day, I thought that when I was going to wake up that I can rewind what happened on Saturday and that was an April Fool's joke with the Toronto Maple Leafs losing the Ottawa Senators, because that's just absolutely a joke. But hey, April Fool's Day, it's a goofy day. It's a type of day for you and I, Scotty, because we're goofballs.
Yeah, we really are, Dave. And the spring sports season in Northern Michigan still's got a ways to go. We still have at least a foot or so of snow on the ground, and so I wouldn't expect any games or meets probably till at the very earliest late this month for track, and it's going to be tough to see the baseball and softball coming up in May, but we'll keep you up to date here on the game. Dave, we got about 10 minutes, and I want to give you a chance. You talk a lot more about these teams on your shows, but I want to give you a chance on this show to talk about the Toronto sports scene. The Blue Jays and Tigers, we'll talk more about that with Butch. They opened the season splitting a 4-game series, but I wanted to talk about the Leafs and the Raptors, both in the playoff hunt. The Leafs are in Long Island to take on the Islanders, or at least wherever they play tonight. I'm sure John DeMars will get a warm
at Echo Bay.
That area. The Leafs right now, if the playoffs started today, surprise, surprise, they take on the Boston Bruins in the first round. But there is a battle going on for wild card positioning. Our good friend Don Supa is heading to Columbus for their big game tomorrow at home. They're 1 point ahead of Carolina and 2 points ahead of Montreal. And then you have the Toronto Raptors, who are doing very well in the NBA, currently the 2 seed. They're in action tonight against Orlando. And the Raptors right now, Milwaukee's getting all the publicity, but Toronto is right there. Could take on the Pistons in the playoffs. So, Dave, I've just wanted to get your perspective here and give you about 5 minutes or so to talk about the Leafs as they head into the playoffs and the Raptors heading into the playoffs. How are you feeling about both teams, and what are your expectations in the postseason?
Believe it or not, I'm going to start with the Raptors, because I think I might have a little bit more to say about the Maple Leafs. Just in terms, if we knew that the Raptors, have clinched a playoff spot for some time, and we knew that they would be battling for top spot between them and the Bucks. But it seems like the Bucks, and I don't have it in front of me, but I think there are 3.5 games or more on the Raptors, Scotty. I'm not sure if you have that up, but I think that at the end of the day, the Raptors are I hope they don't play the Pistons in the first round. That's one thing I'll say, because the Pistons have had their number this year. But the Raptors right now have the opportunity to do something absolutely special. They got Kawhi Leonard. They got Danny Green. They made these moves. So the entirety of this year, they have so much depth on the bench because of what they drafted, what they've traded for, what they've signed this year. To have this team be able to court a team like this, I really think they do have a better team on paper than the Bucks, even though standings don't show that. Someone named Giannis Antetokounmpo has been an absolute god. That his nickname is the Greek god for a reason. So I'll say the Raptors are getting ready for a playoff hunt. I want them to be healthy. I know a lot of people chirp the load management. I agree. I know MJ didn't really sit out games for load management. He only sit out games when he went to play baseball instead of basketball for a bit. But at the end of the day, the Raptors have a team that can truly go to the NBA Finals and win this thing for real. This is something special that is happening here in Canada. We, the North, is absolutely just being absolutely just bouncing. It's insane. Jurassic Park is going to be absolutely roaring. It's going to be nuts throughout the entirety of this playoff spree, because the Raptors, like I said numerous times, have the talent to win the NBA championship. And they've been struggling the last couple weeks. They've been up and down. They haven't been the same dominant Raptors that we have seen. They haven't been able to close games. I'm still not worried about that. To be totally honest, I am not worried about this. They have such a strong defensive team and offensive team all in one, with Gasol, with Leonard, and Ibaka being absolute powerhouses defensively, and Leonard being able to put 30-plus points a night on the daily. Lowry being able to be that offensive threat. And then you got Danny Green, who drains threes like it's going out of style. So I like what they have on the court. We have a very exciting playoff push ahead for us here in the Toronto Raptors. We know that they're there. We hope that they're going towards the end of the season, they're able to manage the load a little bit on minutes. Don't sit guys. I hate this load management stuff, but you know what? Bring the minutes down, get the depth guys some more minutes. As you know, it seems the Raptors are going to finish as a second seed, in my opinion. I'm not sure they're going to be able to catch the Bucks, but if they do have a chance, you make a run for it. But right now, you know where you're sitting, top 2 in the standings. Make sure you're ready to go for the playoffs. Next thing.
And the Raptors right now, Dave, 3 games behind Milwaukee, not a lot of games left, so it will be really tough. Your thoughts on the Maple Leafs? I know you got a lot to say about them.
Oh, the Maple Leafs. Scotty, listen, I'm one of those Leaf fans, and I know guys on the panel are going to say, people may think I'm a delusional Leaf fan and may say things I am honestly, a lot of people are going to be surprised about this, but the Leafs can blow this. And why am I saying this? Very simple. The Habs have 3 games left. The Toronto Maple Leafs have 4. The Leafs are, and if I'm correct, Scotty, are 5 points ahead of the Montreal Canadiens right now.
Correct. Yep.
So since they're 5 points ahead of them, Toronto can lose against Long Island tonight. And top of my head schedule, the Leafs don't have an easy schedule, nor do the Habs. But the Habs have something to play for, which is very dangerous. The last game of the season is the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Montreal Canadiens. Now, listen to me here just for a second. There is an opportunity that if the Leafs go to Long Island tonight and lay a goose egg, which is a chance because the Leafs have been playing like absolute shit. Sorry, Scotty. That's how bad they've been playing. Okay, so if they're going to drop another egg, they can blow that. And like I said, their schedule going forward is not easy. You have right now a Long Island team who has a reason to want to beat you. You got someone named John Tavares on your team, and the fans absolutely despise John Tavares there. And believe it or not, they feed off that. Who do you play next? The Carolina Hurricanes. Now, if I remember, they're not too far out of a playoff hunt. They want to get in there. I think they're actually right in that spot right now, so they want to keep that. Who's your next game after that? The Tampa Bay Lightning. Those are 3 very hard games to win. And who do you get last? The Montreal Canadiens. Okay? Now, are they going to blow it? No. But is there a chance they could? Absolutely. And am I a little bit worried? I'm not worried. I am getting very annoyed is the word I got to use. Montreal has the Tampa Bay Lightning tomorrow. If Toronto loses and Montreal beats Tampa tomorrow, mark my words, there will be a deciding game in that last game of the season. I will say that right now. Tampa doesn't want to lose. They don't want to play favors. They don't want to do nothing. They want to just break records and keep scoring goals. So that's what Tampa Bay wants to do right now. And if Montreal can get past the Lightning, and if you look back, they've had a lot of success against the Washington Capitals, who's their next opponent. The Leafs and Habs are the last game of the season. The Leafs haven't clinched. If the Leafs win tonight, they clinch. All they got to do is get a win. If they get a point, I think if there's some things, if they get 1 point and Montreal gets 1 point, something like that, there's some more liars there that would make them clinch. But the Toronto Maple Leafs need to get back to playing the game that they could. Their D-core is absolutely atrocious. Mike Babcock is not playing Jake Muzzin to the minutes that he should be playing. I'm not sure if there's something going on there. He likes to play Martin Marincin more than Jake Muzzin sometimes, which isn't really a fact. Muzzin is getting more minutes, but at crucial times, Muzzin isn't out there. He should be logging 25-plus minutes a game. Heck, the same as Riley. And also, the offense. Austin Matthews is playing some soft hockey, in my opinion. He's picked one game that I watched where he played earlier last week. He was actually laying the body, but a lot of games where he's being soft. One of their best players have been, and I'm surprised I'm saying this, is William Nylander and Zach Hyman. Those have been their 2 best players the last couple games because Nylander's actually been trying. He actually played center over Matthews last game in a crucial faceoff situation, which is why that's being noticed. Mitch Marner hasn't been Mitch Marner. Tavares has been Tavares. Like, he scores 4 goals, then he disappears for 2 games, then he gets another 3 goals. So at the end of the day, the Leafs have been very inconsistent. They're having Travis Dermott return to the lineup. Yes, that's a big add because it makes us sit Oshiganoff or Hole, who are absolutely dust are the words that I want to use, but I'm not in the National Hockey League. But the next person that we're missing, and I can't believe I'm saying this right now, and I can't believe I'm saying he's the 3rd best defenseman on Toronto because of how much I've razzed him on the show, Jake Gardiner. We are actually missing Jake Gardiner. And the reason why we're missing Jake Gardiner is that at least that guy can make an outlet pass, and at least that guy scores goals on the power play, which has been absolutely abysmal this year. So what I'm saying here after all this ranting is that will Toronto make the playoffs? I'm confident they're not going to blow this. Okay, that'd be quite a collapse. The city would explode if they didn't make the playoffs this year and something would happen. So I'm confident they'll get it done. But going into the playoffs right now, they are not playing good hockey. Defensively, they're not playing good hockey. They need to smarten up. They have to get healthy, and they have to put the puck in the net and stop pointing the finger at Frederik Andersen. Yes, point the finger at Sparks, because I don't think Sparks deserves to be in the National Hockey League as a backup goalie. Sorry if that's harsh. I think he's really struggled. But Frederick Anderson, there's a goalie that has been the reason why Toronto's even in a playoff spot right now. So if it wasn't for Frederick Anderson, you got to give the guy a tap on the pads. And why Mike Babcock didn't play him on Saturday against the Ottawa Senators to clinch a playoff spot absolutely blows my mind. You play Garrett Sparks, who can barely stop a beach ball in the game, and your defense has been atrocious. You have to get confident. You have to put the goalie who's going to win you those games in those big moments. So I'll take a quick exhale here. They have to get back to normal. They have to play the least hockey if they're going to be successful in the playoffs. Because if they don't turn it around defensively, if they don't turn it around and get back to what they can do offensively, the line of Marchand, Pasternak, and Bergeron are going to absolutely eat you alive. They're going to eat you alive, and the Bruins will not collapse from a 3-1 series lead this time if they get behind. So will the Leafs be successful? Yes. How do I feel about the Leafs' recent play? Absolute junk. They need to smarten up. And will they get it done ultimately? Yes. But don't be surprised if they lose the next game or two, that if it comes down to the last game of the season between them and the Montreal Canadiens.
Dave McCaig joining us here on the game. Dave, we're going to take a little break. I'll let you go grab a snack, maybe a beverage, and when you come back, we will have our round table. I'm sure we'll talk more about the NBA, NHL. We haven't even gotten to March Madness and our brackets. We'll cover that in hour two, so stand by. Thanks for joining us on this segment. We'll talk to you here in a few minutes, sir.
Sounds good, Scotty. Thanks, and look forward to talking in a bit.
As do I, sir, and we're going to take a break and be back with Butch Davis from Butch On Sports. That's coming up next on The Game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show wants to thank its original home, partner, and sponsor since 2015, Sports Center Bar and Grill, named the Soo's best sports bar for 3 years in a row. Sports Center Bar and Grill is located on 624 Wellington Street West in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Make sure to come on down to Sports Center to enjoy the great atmosphere with great cold beverages available, including those delicious Molson products. Don't forget about their famous 75-cent wing nights on Wednesdays. They're truly the best wings in town. Like and follow Sports Center on Facebook at Sports Center SSM. We look forward to seeing you today. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Soo's best sports bar.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and special edition home to the game, Silver Creek Golf Course, located on 104 Bellow Lake Road, Garden River, Ontario. And also shout out thank you to Silver Creek GM Jamie Henderson. Silver Creek Golf Course has many specials to offer for 18 holes, 9 holes, and even Twilight Deal specials. It does not matter what your level of golf game is, it is a must to enjoy the scenic course, memorable experiences that Silver Golf Course offers. Silver Creek also offers a Thursday wing night for you to enjoy food after a stellar time on the course. You can book your tee time by phone or online at golfsilvercreek.com. Silver Creek Golf Course, where all are welcome to play.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the studios of Eagle 95.1 in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Want to thank Dave McCaig, who joined us in the previous segment. Dave will join us once again for the roundtable coming up here in our next segment. We're hoping to catch up with EJ Russell from Escanaba, Michigan, and we know that we will have our next guest on the roundtable as well as this segment. His name is Butch Davis from Butch On Sports, who gives us an up-to-date look at what's going on in the Metro Detroit sports area. You can find his podcast of his show, Butch On Sports, on this website, thegamesportshow.com. You can also go right to his website, Simply Butch2. That's TOO.podomatic.com. Butch, happy April Fool's Day, my friend. How you doing, sir?
There's nobody fool but you here, buddy. What's happening?
Yes. Doing good, Butch. Doing good. Still got about 1.5 feet of snow on the ground. We had an April Fool's joke in the last segment that we had a baseball game on Sunday. That ain't happening around here for a while. I hear there's still no snow downstate, or did you guys get some this weekend?
We got some this weekend, and it's all gone.
That's terrible.
Yeah, right.
Well, one thing that's not terrible, at least from my perspective, is the NCAA men's basketball tournament. As yesterday, Michigan State back in the Final Four for the first time since 2015, and the 10th time ever is Cassius Winston, 20 points, 10 assists, and walk-on fifth-year senior Kenny Goins made a late three to knock out the top seed in the tournament, Duke, by the score of 68-67. So Sparty advances to the Final Four in Minneapolis to take on Texas Tech, who knocked out Michigan, as well as Gonzaga. The other side has the only one seed to survive, Virginia, who had a scare against Purdue. They will take on Auburn. War Eagle makes their first ever Final Four as they knocked off Kentucky. They also knocked off North Carolina and Kansas to get there. So, Butch, Michigan State back in the Final Four. I don't think many people had these four teams in the bracket. What's your thoughts on the NCAA men's tournament?
Well, I'll tell you a secret here, buddy. I had Michigan State to win this whole doggone thing here. And the only reason
nice.
Yeah, really. I made a fool of myself, didn't I, huh? Well, the only reason I did that because they were one of the few veteran teams that are out here doing good things. And this season was quite a roller coaster ride there, and they survived from it. And surviving the season that they had in the Big Ten did them very good when it came down to the tournament drive, which, again, they had some close games, some close firings there, but, again, they made it through the run there. It was the game was against the kids from the playground, against the vets who was not a barbershop quartet here, and they took care of business, and lo and behold, they'll be going to Minneapolis, and the kids from the playground will be going home and trying to find a job, which, by the way, a couple of them won't have a problem doing so.
Yes, indeed, Butch. Yes, indeed. Let's move on to the Detroit Pistons. Right now, the Pistons, the 6th seed in the East. They are in Indiana tonight. Again, the Pistons up and down, Butch. A nice performance on Saturday night over Portland. Blake Griffin out of that game. I believe he's out of tonight's game. And right now the Pistons in a playoff battle with Brooklyn, Miami, and Orlando. It's 4 teams going for 3 spots. So the Pistons can be as high as 6th, or they may not make the playoffs. What's your thoughts on the Pistons going into the home stretch?
Well, right now we got 2 players not playing tonight because they got the flu. We'll get that. That's a game time decision. Right now I'm kind of like holding back on that particular information there. But again, I'll know, or you'll know, or we'll all know at game time when they play Indiana tonight there. So they probably will be really short if that partakes. If not, then the Pistons really have to do one and one thing only. They have to do some winning here because they're not far away from being the last place champs again there, as teams like Orlando and Miami are catching the wind very, very driftily there, where they're moving ahead and not missing a beat from the Pistons.
Butch, let's move on to the Detroit Red Wings, playing some really good hockey as of late. They defeated Boston by the score of 6-3 yesterday at Little Caesars Arena. Anthony Mantha scored his first ever NHL hat trick. Jimmy Howard, 31 saves. The Wings are expected to announce this week a possible contract extension for Jeff Blashill, and it looks like these young players are certainly playing hard, despite many people thinking they're better off by losing these games and getting a better position in the lottery. Butch, the Wings ending the season on the right note.
Well, the season is ending on the right note, but one of the things I will mention, I have mentioned it all season long, this season wouldn't be proven unless those kids from Grand Rapids came down there to give them some ump. And that's what's been happening here. Those kids from Grand Rapids has given them a lot more energy, a lot more juice, a lot more speed on the ice, and a lot more protection with goaltending there, as they're playing fearless right now, nothing to lose, and they don't have nothing to lose because they're not going anywhere during the off season. and they're playing really doggone good hockey. 7 or 8 games is nothing to scream at. They did that during the earlier part of the season there. We might have been talking a big wahoo with a playoff berth there, but we don't have that. But again, the Red Wings, when the Blashill thing come about here on the extension of contract, I kind of wait and see on that one there because, again, we don't know what's coming ahead of the game. We all speculate that what's going to happen. But, again, we don't know what's going to happen in the long run there. I think Blashill do deserve an extension on his contract, at least a couple more years, and some cooperation with general management and whatnot there. Maybe bringing, again, a group of younger players that has some fire in their belly there to make the Red Wings a better team.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Butch, one other team that we cover, the Detroit Tigers, started their season at the Sky Dome. I'm going to keep calling it that because I like the name, up in Toronto, Ontario. The Tigers didn't score a lot of runs on the weekend, but they did get a split against the Toronto Blue Jays, winning yesterday by the score of 4-3 in 11 innings. Nick Catalanos had the game-winning RBI single. A nice pitching performance by Matt Moore, 7 shutout innings. Tigers are in New York as we speak. We're recording this on Monday night. No score going into the bottom of the first inning against the New York Yankees. The Tigers will be in the Bronx for 3 before a place that I think you'll be Thursday afternoon at Comerica Park as the home opener against the Kansas City Royals. Butch didn't get a chance too much to see the Tigers this weekend due to all the basketball, but what's your thoughts on the Tigers after their first weekend in Toronto?
Well, what I've seen is very impressive there with the starting pitching there for the Detroit Tigers. Detroit Tigers do a very good starting pitcher. As usual, as per years back, Tigers hitting has not been up to snuff. A strategic move, I would call it, when the manager put Catalanos up in the leadoff position yesterday there, and it gave him made him look like a very smart manager as he got 5 hits yesterday, and also one of the catalysts in getting the win for the Detroit Tigers, evening the series, and also just giving them a 2-2 record going into this early part of the season.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Butch, we do have a few minutes left here, and, well, one of our favorite events happens on Sunday. Wrestlemania 35 happening outdoors in New York. The Raw Women's Championship leading the way as the main event, as Ronda Rousey will take on Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Also, many championships on the line. Universal Championship, Brock Lesnar against Seth Rollins. The WWE Championship, Daniel Bryan against Kofi Kingston. Kofi Mania taking over the WWE, which I like. Many other matchups, which we'll get to. Just, Butch, the Raw and SmackDown heading into WrestleMania will happen over the next couple days. What's your thoughts on the WWE heading into the big show, the Super Bowl of wrestling, WrestleMania?
Well, it tells me one thing and one thing only, that WWE need to do some work with the men's side of the wrestling massage there, okay? Kofi Kingston thing that lasted for 3 weeks, that was a joke. Per se there, scared a lot of kids here, but, to bully someone like that, outright bully someone to do this, that, and the other, and just get beat up to a no-not one, but still come out ahead, was very, very gratifying in such a manner there. But again, you can tell the WWE is having problems, and they do need to do some recycling with their men's division and whatnot. As far as the women's division is concerned there, people just can't wait for some of the matches that's going to be coming out of that there. We're going to have some veterans who are retired come out of that. I think Beth Phoenix is going to be wrestling in that particular ensemble there with one of her buddies from Canada. I think it's going to be pretty good. Hopefully it does not snow in New York, New Jersey there, because I'm going to laugh my rear end off to a no-not one. And if it snow like it does in Sault Ste. Marie there, that really will be a blast. All those people in there and it's just snowing away, So I can see snowballs being thrown at wrestlers left and right, and it will cause Vince McMahon to think a lot heavier on, where he puts his WrestleManias at there. I thought that was a very bad move of going to New York City and outdoors there in the earlier part of April. I don't know what's going on there. But again, let's see how that come about. If it's an 80-degree day, we'll all be spoofed. But again, can't wait for WrestleMania. We don't want to miss it. So let's see what happened there. Hopefully it'll be a great event.
Just some of the other matches, Butch. Roman Reigns against Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles against Randy Orton, Triple H against Batista in a no-holds-barred Triple H's career on the line match. Intercontinental Championship, Bobby Lashley versus Finn Balor. I imagine we'll see the Demon. I like this matchup here. United States Championship, Samoa Joe against Rey Mysterio. You have the Women's Tag Team Championship, Sasha Banks and Bayley against Beth Phoenix, Natalya, and a whole bunch of others. The Miz versus Shane McMahon. You know how those matches can be with Shane O'Mac. Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin. I imagine somebody else is going to come out in this match. I can't imagine that's how Kurt Angle's going to end his career. You have the Cruiserweight Championship, Buddy Murphy against Tony Nese. Then you also have the Andre the Giant Battle Royal and the Women's Battle Royal. Butch, which match of all the matches that we've talked about are you looking forward to the most of that list?
The Kurt Angle match. I think his son's going to come back.
I like it.
His son's going to come back here and beat the slop out of somebody. And now we'll get the ball rolling, as I just mentioned before, about the men's division that truly need to be recycled there. Again, the recycling has to happen because, again, also in September, we see that the USA Network is going to lose one of those ensembles, which is SmackDown, going to the Fox Sports, not Fox Sports, but Fox Network there. And I'm quite sure Fox is looking for some wow and bow and bang in there. So they're going to have to get that ready, set, and go for September.
Butch Davis joining us here in hour one of the game. Butch, we have a few minutes left. Is there any other sports-related items you want to talk about before we take a break and get to our roundtable tonight?
Well, we can talk about the Grand Prix that they're starting to get warmed up here. A lot of little events been happening around the city of Detroit and about Southeast Michigan, and getting ready for that particular ensemble that's going to take place on the weekend of May the 30th all the way to the 2nd of June. It's fun and friendly. And again, you will have the free Friday on the 30th there. So everybody can get ready, set, and go for that particular occasion there. Everyone walking in, or, walking in the Belle Isle will be able to get in there with no charge at all. And of course, you cannot drive your car on the island. So you have to park in one of those outside event places where their parking is available there. You walk in the Belle Isle, or else you'll take a shuttle in there and get to see a lot of good stuff there. Free Friday's always the best day because you walk out with a lot of free stuff there, you know?
We love free stuff, Butch, and we love having you on our show. That's Butch Davis, host of Butch on Sports. Again, you can find his podcast on the website, thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or go right to Butch's site, Simply Butch 2. That's TOO.podomatic.com. Butch, hang tight for a few minutes. We're going to get the gang together here in hour two. Myself, yourself, Dave McCaig, and hopefully EJ Russell for the round table. So we will talk to you here in a few. Thanks for joining us in hour one, sir.
All righty.
All right, that's going to do it for hour one. We'll take a quick break and be back with more of the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com.
The Wicked Sister, Soo, Michigan. Check TripAdvisor, ranked right towards the top. Awarded the Certificate of Excellence, as well as voted #1 pub in the UP. The Wicked Sister has managed to create a casual menu that offers unique, creative, and sometimes healthy offerings that rivals menu selections of any big city. Burgers and starters, snacks and shareable soups and salads, sandwiches and tapas. On Ashman Street, Soo, Michigan. Welcome to the Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsoo.com. The salon, making the Soo beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Soo Pee Wee Pro Shop. The Soo Pee Wee Pro Shop, located inside a Community First Credit Union Soo Pee Wee Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Soo Pee Wee Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful, new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the studios of Eagle 95.1 in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan for Hour 2 of the game. We'll be back at the Wicked Sister next Monday night for another edition, as we are there every Monday, or for most Mondays. Sometimes we have to go to the studio due to events going on, but we are happy to be here on this first day of April. Cold day in northern Michigan. We'll be joined by Dave McCaig here in about 10 minutes or so during the roundtable. We're continued to be joined by Butch Davis from Butch On Sports, and we are joined by our final co-host and contributor. His name is EJ Russell on the hot seat, sponsored by Riverside Toyota in Escanaba. EJ, how you doing on this Monday, April Fool's Day?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm definitely fool's, so I think I fit right into the date, but excited to be here as always. Quite the exciting weekend in sports. Baseball opening days across the country. Some exciting play out of the West Coast as well as the Detroit Tigers. So excited to jump right into it, boys.
Let's get right into it, EJ, and you being our final guest, we're going to give you first crack at the roundtable. We'll have time for at least a topic from each of us tonight. So, EJ Russell, what would you like to bring up on the roundtable? Butch, I'll give you first crack at EJ's topic.
Well, we're getting into the most exciting part of the college basketball season, and that is the Final Four. It has been set. So between Michigan State, Texas Tech, UVA, and Auburn, who is your favorite to win the tournament? Who's the best looking team right now? And who is the team that you think looks the worst, that has the best shot to win?
Butch, you and I touched on it during your segment. Butch, probably the only one of us that still has a champion at least alive. He picked Michigan State. Butch, I'll let you answer EJ's question.
Well, I would say that, and I'll say it again, the team that would have really the best shot at this whole situation, in my judgment, would be Michigan State because of the veterans on the team there. You got a lot of seniors and juniors on the team, per se, that has been through the marsh before there, and versus other teams like Texas Tech, Auburn, Virginia. I think is the other one there that's left from the seeding, the tremendous seeding that the NCAA put up every year that basically is a failure, and we talk about it all the time. Those particulars there. A lot of people right now, and we know what's going to happen, that the players would be like ESPN and Fox would try to pump up this situation to a no, not one. One of the teams they're trying to really pump up is Texas Tech, okay? And Texas Tech is a very formidable defensive team there, per se. They haven't said anything about offense, per se, but the defense has been spectacular there. The team that I'm thinking that you should be watching out for and watching out very closely would be Auburn. Auburn, it will be the team that if they pull the rug beneath you, you're going to stay on the floor. And they're not going to let you get back up there. That would be the team that I would really watch for. But again, for where I sit at in the experience and the opera that's going to come about next weekend, or this upcoming weekend, I should say, I do believe Michigan State will come out ahead.
Butch, I'll go next. My Final Four bracket busted up. I had Duke playing Virginia in the final, but I was not disappointed. Needless to say, being a Michigan State fan yesterday, watching that game, the Spartans taking on Duke, many people thought that Michigan State got the short end of the stick as far as being seated in the same region with Duke, but I think I said it on this show, you got to play them sometime, and Michigan State did. Some people are saying that maybe was the final. I'm not too sure about that, but it was a great game. Michigan State caused a bunch of turnovers. Their transition game was outstanding, and they made the shots when they had to. I love the fact that the go-ahead shot was hit by a fifth-year walk-on senior Kenny Goins. And, you know, these one-and-done teams we saw with Duke and we've seen in the past with Kentucky, not quite getting the job done against these teams that have, like Butch said, experience coming back, a team. Did Duke have more talent on the court? Probably. You're going to see a lot of those players play in the NBA and do very well. But Michigan State had the best team. And Cassius Winston, what can you say about his performance? 20 points, 10 assists. He made that play at the end where he got open to run out the clock. And, you know, of all the Final Fours that Tom Izzo has had his teams get to, he's had 8 Final Fours since 1999. Maybe this one was the sweetest. Last year we saw a team that had talent, but they were kind of swept up in the whole Larry Nassar and the sensationalism in sports journalism with a certain 4-letter network, which we won't say because I have a friend of mine that is on that network, an affiliate, mind you. But I just think this was very sweet for Michigan State. I like that they play with a chip on their shoulder. You see the sports today, and they're talking about Duke lost, Zion this, Zion that. Hey, you know what? How about maybe Michigan State won the game? That might be a better way of looking at it. And there was just some great basketball played all around. So to answer your question, E.G., I think Michigan State probably has the best chance to win it due to the fact that they've been there. Like these teams, Auburn has never been there. Texas Tech has never been there. We're talking Final Four, and Virginia hasn't been there since 1984. I just like the way State's playing right now. I think they're getting production from several places, including freshmen Henry and Brown had big games, especially in that regional semifinal. The team I wouldn't want to play is Auburn. Like Butch said, that team has been hot since the SEC tournament. They lost one of their best guys who tore an ACL, and you look at who they beat just to get to this point. Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky. And they're not even, that's just to get to the Final Four, and they might have to go through Virginia and Michigan State. I mean, that would be an improbable run, and Charles Barkley would be as giddy as we've seen him in the studio if they can make the run there. Virginia, I think the ACC teams may have been a little high-seeded the way things have turned out. I think they maybe had the easiest road, and Purdue was not easy. And, boy, you look at that performance Carson Edwards had, 42 points. That guy couldn't miss that night, and somehow Virginia survived. They only beat Oregon by 4. So I think of all those teams, I don't know if Virginia is the one that scares me. Texas Tech, they play that great defense. They held Michigan to 44 points, which, isn't a lot, and was a tough game for Michigan. So it's going to be a very interesting Final Four. I mean, it's one that the glamour teams, the North Carolinas, the Kentuckys, the Dukes, they're not in, which makes some East Coast people probably upset. But you know what? In the heartland of America, I love this Final Four. Michigan State, Texas Tech, Auburn, Virginia, in Minneapolis. Let's go, baby. Final Four. It's going to be a lot of fun. EJ, your thoughts on your own topic, sir?
I think that the first thing that we all need to address is that Duke didn't lose that game. Michigan State came out and won that game. And Cassius Winston looked fantastic in that game. But Michigan State didn't look rocky. They looked solid. And they beat what most people assumed was the best team in college basketball this year. And they deserve to be in this place. Not at all surprised to see Coach Izzo getting the Spartans to this point. I think one thing that everybody needs to remember with Michigan State, and this is something that I've been preaching for years now, which is that Izzo early in the year makes these Michigan State Spartans men's basketball team and these boys go out and play tough teams early in the year. And every year you see them play at Kansas, at Kentucky, at Duke, at North Carolina, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter what team it is. They always face him early in the year, and then they end up losing. And he's able to take those losses and go, all right, boys, you decided to play your way of basketball. It didn't work. Now it's time to buy into mine. And by the time that they get to this point in the tournament, they've bought into Izzo's system, and they are playing team basketball, and they are running the system as he wants it done. So I think Michigan State, on paper, in this tournament, is the best team to win at this point. I think Texas Tech, though, number one in defensive efficiency, if I remember the stat correctly. I think they were number one in defensive efficiency in the NCAA this year. And this is a team that has not a lot of tournament history, but has won quite a few games in the last few years. And I think that that's going to be a challenge for Michigan State. I do believe that Izzo is the coach to get beyond that. But Texas Tech is not a team to overlook. I think Auburn is the hottest team in basketball right now, though. And I picked them to be in my Final Four. I think Auburn is going to go to the championship game. I think that UVA is shaky. It took a last-second shot, and then in overtime, another last-second shot in order to even get where they're at right now. I think UVA is the shakiest team, Scott. I'd agree with you that they're probably the one team that I'm not overly concerned about. But Michigan State has a very tough matchup against Texas Tech. I will take State in that game. I do believe that Izzo and his team is better, and they have better experience in these kind of situations, specifically coaching experience. And I think that they're going to find a way to win this game. But I'm with Auburn. I'm going to ride the wave. I picked them to make the Final Four this year. I actually picked them to make a championship game against Duke in my bracket. And I've been all in on them since they won the SEC championship game. They've been absolutely fantastic. Yes, they've dealt with injuries, but the team has really rallied behind that. And they're not just going out and beating a team by 2 points. They've beaten, and I'm not talking just, 2 3-point wins. They've beaten down a lot of good teams in this tournament. Like you said, North Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas. They have wholeheartedly won those games. I think Auburn's the scariest team left right now. They have absolutely nothing to lose. And even though they haven't got a lot of tournament experience, what are they fighting against? Nothing. They're coming out and they're swinging for the fences, and they're riding the wave that they have as well that they should. They've been playing that good of basketball. UVA, in my opinion, is the worst team in this Final Four. I think Michigan State is the absolute best team in the Final Four, but I think the scariest team to play is going to be Auburn, and watch them make a run at the title. There's no way, in my opinion, that game doesn't finish in Auburn's favor. It's going to be close.
Scott Nason, Butch Davis, E.J. Russell here on the round table. We're going to add Dave McCaig here right now, so stand by, gentlemen. We'll get Kegger on, and then we'll continue the round table.
Hello, sir.
All right, Dave McCaig joining us live on the game, along with Butch Davis and E.J. Russell. So the gang is all here, and we're going to go to you, Butch, for your topic on the round table. Dave will give you first crack, and then myself, and then E.J. So, Butch Davis, what's on your mind tonight? What would you like to talk about on the round table?
Well, let's stick with the NCAA here. And I think one of the biggest conversations that's going to be made after all this is over is the one-and-done situation with some of the players who come in, do a one-and-done year and never be seen on a college campus ever again, to go through the pros and make good shoe contracts, a lot of good money, and being drafted by a professional basketball team there. The NCAA got some problems there, and those problems are going to be somewhat elevated after the season over, because many people are not liking the one and done situation there. Want to get your guys' take on that.
Great topic, Butch. Dave, we talked a little bit about the NCAA tournament. Your Duke Blue Devils, a prime example of the one and done players that come and play for these teams for a year and then get drafted in the NBA. We've seen that with Kentucky over the past few years. So your thoughts on the NCAA tournament, and specifically Butch's question?
Okay, mainly, Butch, great topic, my friend. I'll say right now, Scotty, and thanks, today was kind of a rough day being a Duke Blue Devil fan, having Zion and RJ lose in the fashion that they did yesterday, tight game with Michigan State, great game. It was as expected, but the big thing is with Butch's question and me answering it here is that the NCAA, when you have the one player, the ones and dones, that doesn't really, I don't think, necessarily hurt the teams, like, basically, because look at those teams that are able to recruit so heavily, right? Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, UNC, they're able to get these high value players and highly scouted players basically every year when you think about it. Now, I'm not saying Duke is going to go out this offseason and they're going to maybe recruit the next top pick. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But sure, you know what? When it comes to drafting these players, the NBA have its own rules to follow too, much like the National Hockey League. They're able to draft these players at a certain age, which is within their threshold. And that's when they go over to college. Some of them or they're a little younger, you know what I mean? It's kind of something to draft a little later. You know, there's different circumstances, but the circumstances of Zion and the circumstances of RJ, you know, those guys are not going to be there next season. And if they do go back next season, you know, it's going to be quite a surprise, and it'll basically be because they made the choice to, but we all know that's not going to happen. So do I want to see, is it good for the NCAA? No, not necessarily, but it is in the same fashion because it shows the quick development in the league and the quick turnover. Just in 1 year, the impact that Zion had in the NCAA, what he's going to be able to do in the NBA is going to be absolutely amazing. He's going to be a young stud along with RJ. Honestly, I'm kind of torn to give either answer on how it's going to be for the NCAA because if you look at it, they go into the school programs. The reason why they go there is to try to win a national title, but at the same time, it's because they want to develop their players and get that alumni kind of fashion. You know, you have, for example, if I played for Duke and I go to the NBA and a top 5 pick and I win if I win multiple championships, break records, you're an alumnus of Duke. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a year, 2 years. At the end of the day, you're still part of that family, much like what the Duke shirt says, the Duke family. You're always a part of that family. So honestly, I'm kind of torn to give kind of the overall perspective on how it should be and change with the NBA. I really don't think this should change a thing because we're really think it changed a thing, or I don't have any negative to say about it because I haven't seen any problems with what's currently going on. And sure, the programs are suffering in terms of having to recruit each year, but when you have the kind of the repertoire that Duke and these big schools have, they're able to recruit very easily. So that's why on the other side is where I'm kind of not torn because the successful schools will always be successful schools. I just feel bad for the teams that aren't maybe able to recruit as big as some of the other schools, and some of their good players have to leave because it might take more time to recruit. But that's really much the only thing I could touch on that. In my overall perspective of the tournament, good on Michigan State. My bracket is absolutely destroyed. It was destroyed basically the second day, and Buffalo is where it all started. You know, I had Buffalo in my Final Four along with UNC and Duke. So obviously I had Duke win it all. So obviously my bracket is absolutely just torn to shreds. And Michigan State played a better basketball game yesterday. They were better at making their quality shots. They were able to not really hold Zion. I think Zion was a force when he was inside the paint, but when they were able to kind of contain and get the shots from outside more, that's Michigan State was more had an advantage, and they're able to make those big shots. And the overall competitiveness of the tournament, I am loving what Auburn is doing. Big fan of what Auburn is doing. They're in tough going forward. However, and at the end of the day, I would honestly like to see Michigan State pull away with the win here. I think it's, kind of close to home, and I would really like to see them because they defeated the team that was supposed to win it all. My overall reaction on the NCAA March Madness tournament, it's been amazing. It's been exciting to watch, and it hasn't been what it's all expected to be, but it has been all it's expected to be in terms of entertainment.
Thank you, Dave. I will go next. I already talked about the tournament, specifically what Butch mentioned about the one and done and these teams that haven't had very much success. You have to go back to 2005 to find the last high school player that was drafted. It was the Detroit Pistons selected Amir Johnson with the 56th pick in the 2005 NBA draft. He was the last, quote, prep-to-pro player selected in the NBA draft between the years of 1975 and 2005. He was the 40th player that was selected straight out of high school. Of course, you know many of the names, Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, among others. And then the following year, the NBA would implement the controversial age eligibility rule that had been negotiated by the NBA and the Players Association, stating that for an American player to be draft eligible, he must be at least 19 years old and at least one NBA season must have elapsed from when he graduated high school, or if he didn't graduate, when he would have graduated. And so that is where we are right now, and that's why you're seeing these teams like Duke and Kentucky stack the deck as far as these freshman teams, but doesn't seem like many of them are winning at all. And Butch stated many reasons during his segment. Look at a team like Michigan State and the leadership that they have and these fifth-year seniors. But specifically, I didn't like the rule then, and I don't like it now. I'm a firm believer that, you know what, if you're a hockey player and you're 18 years old, you don't need to go to college. You can go play professionally and make money, as is your right. And I think that's exactly what should happen in the NFL and the NBA. If you're good enough in high school to go play in the NFL and NBA, then by goodness, you should be able to be drafted and do just that. I think this rule is garbage. I think that they should change it because I don't think it's fair. And that's pretty much where I sit on it. I think it's a bad rule, and it's been going on far too long, and it should be changed. If you want to go play professionally and you're 18, then you should have every right. You can go fight for your country at 18, but you can't go play professionally. I think it's wrong, and I think many of these scandals that we see in college, maybe some of them might not be as much if you were able to have these players maybe go play professionally, as is their right. EJ Russell, your thoughts on Butch's topic?
Scott, this is a very rare moment, but I think we have a very differing opinion here. And I think that college athletes, specifically basketball, they need to be committed to at least 3 years at a university, and that's my opinion. And the reason that I believe that is because I think that the NCAA, as the governing body of college athletics, needs to take a stand and make sure that academics are a major point of emphasis. One thing that I do like, and I'll talk NFL here, and I'll get back to the NCAA basketball. There's never been a player that's come out of high school that is ready to go to the NFL after his freshman year. That's a very, very extreme, rare thing, and I won't say never. I'm sure there's been at least one guy that's been ready, but like the NFL, that is a league of men. And I've never seen an individual that was 21 years old in the NFL that didn't look like he couldn't be my dad. And I'm 30 years old. I mean, these are men amongst boys. And I think that the NFL has a great formula there where players need to be at least 3 years removed. A lot of those guys can end up finishing their degrees later. And I'll reference a guy like Larry Fitzgerald. Played at Pitt for 3 years. And then finished his degree, which wasn't a ton of work after that. And I think that as a society, we need to push that education is important. My issue with the NCAA one-and-done rule, I'm glad they do have at least a one-year rule for the NBA. I think that that's smart. Boys need to mature into men before making that leap up. And you referenced Kevin Garnett, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. These are extreme exceptions to the rule, but these are also guys that, had they still played 1 year of college, they still would have all been number one picks. And the majority of these guys aren't going to get hurt. And yes, there is risk to injury. But like you said, Scott, you have to be at least 18 to serve in the military. There has to be a certain level of physicality and a certain level of maturity before you go into these pro sports, because whether or not you agree with what I'm saying, you have to be prepared to be there. And I think that in order to get there, you do have to mature. Most boys don't mature until later, and this is a scientific fact. Girls mature earlier, boys mature a little later.
I've never matured.
Neither have I. I think
nope,
half of us have. But we need to. But these guys need to be able to mature, and in order to play athletics at the highest level, you have to be there mentally. And I think that a good college education, and I want to make emphasis on good college education, not one of those BS programs where you show up to class, you sign a piece of paper, and you get an A, which there have been some scandals involving the academics behind that. But I think that the NCAA and these other leagues need to make the emphasis on the academics, because in order to be a good professional athlete, you have to be of sound mind. And I think we would all agree upon that. I like what the NHL does, which is where they draft players and they'll allow them to finish school, and then when they're done, they can go pro. I think that that's a great formula for success. I do understand that injury is a huge risk, and we all know that. And Zion Williamson was the big story this year in NCAA basketball with the shoe falling apart and the knee strain. But I think we need to place emphasis on these young men and women getting education and continuing to further themselves, because many professional athletes outside of their careers end up going broke within the first couple of years. And I think that if we educate our people, number one, we're going to get better contributing individuals in our society. But number two, I think that will better prepare them to be a professional, because it is a mental game. And I think the NCAA needs to impose at least a 2 or 3 year mandatory service, and I'm putting that in air quotes. I don't know the right way to say this, but I think the NBA, should implement a policy similar to the NFL's, where these guys are getting education, allowing them to mature more. Because let's look at the NBA today. These guys are coming out after their first year, and they're looking like freak athletes. Let's look at Zion Williamson. That's a man, right? And that kid is 19 years old. People didn't look like that 10, 20 years ago. That just wasn't normal. And we're in a place now where our science to backing athletes and the science behind training has gotten so far advanced that I just don't believe that an 18-year-old right now can go into any professional league outside of the few freak athletes out there that will be physically and mentally prepared for that. I would like to see the NCAA and these professional leagues make a stand towards, number one, furthering education, because many of these guys don't end up panning out. I mean, how many rounds are in the NBA draft? 2 or 3? Why? Because, number one, you don't need that many players. And number two, they're not mentally there, and they're not smart enough. And I'm not saying this that anyone's unintelligent, but they're not wise enough players to know how to prepare themselves correctly. And I think that that's something that even as, like, I'll take us for example, the majority of us have at least spent 1 year in college. And I point at myself saying I literally spent 1 year in college. I wasn't mature enough at the time to make sound decisions. And I think that over those next couple of years, I learned how to become a man. I learned how to make mature decisions. And I think that that's a great place to allow us to grow men, grow professionals, grow women, whatever league it is. I think that there needs to be at least, I love what the NFL does, that 3-year minimum where you give an individual a chance to grow, not only physically but mentally. And I think that that will, number one, reinvigorate college basketball, because you'll now have a team that you feel like you can follow every year, because you're seeing the same couple of guys every year. That's one thing we love about college football, is you're going to get 2 or 3 years out of a guy. That's, college baseball, not a lot of those guys go immediately into the pros. College hockey, a lot of those guys finish their college careers before going up to the next level. I think that that's something we need to do, not only for the kids that are going to school, but I think we're going to create better people. And I also think you'll end up getting a better professional product, because you're getting smarter, more capable athletes that are physically trained.
Butch, very good topic, very differing opinions. Your thoughts on your own topic before we go to Dave for his?
I'd say it's a lot of different opinions. I think you mature very quickly when friend of the court is knocking on your door at 17 years of age here. Let me tell you that right now. Anybody who's been a part of that here will tell you right quick you will mature very, very quickly. I liked all the answers I heard there. I do have a crossover on EJ's topic on his answers there. I think number one is with the 3 leagues that that we feel suitable. And we're talking about Major League Baseball, that pro football, as well as the National Hockey League. They all have supplemental leagues or something to deal with. The supplemental situation with the National Football League is you got to stay 3 years. Major League Baseball had the minor league program there. And even down to hockey there, you got various leagues that you can partake in instead of maybe going to college, as well as going to college and still being able to make a living there. National Basketball Association doesn't have that there. They have the G League, and that's the only reputable league that they endorse. Until there are other avenues that people can deal with, or young men or young ladies can deal with there, it's going to be a problem. I myself personally don't feel that you should be taken away from making a living there. The maturity factor comes from the company you keep within. And in many particular occasions there, when you are the big kahuna in your block, and yet still you're taking care of your mother and father by doing various other things there, that could be a situation. But yes, and still you're very relevantly talented in athletics there, where basically you can go in there 18 years old and may give it a shot at the NBA. Now, you can't make it a shot in the NBA. Where are you to go? The G League is one league that supplementary will take you. But again, the rule of the NBA is the 1 year rule, and I think that should be wiped on out there. I really feel when you go to college, it should be somewhat a commitment of staying there for a while. And I really feel that way. When you steal a scholarship from some kid who's deserving of that particular opportunity and won't get it, or end up have to go to a junior college or something in order to franchise themselves, that is not fair to that kid who maybe would have been in that lineup there for Duke or any other school, who took that one and done situation, and you rob that kid or knock his dreams wholeheartedly out of socket there. Things blink upon you with a second, and in many occasions there, that is not a good rule when it comes down to deserving kids who work their rear ends off all through high school and through school and will never get that opportunity, or get a half-pass opportunity. The goings come in a dime a dozen, okay, where they're able to walk on the campus and be able to get an opportunity to show the coach their wares, and maybe that coach was sympathetic enough to allow that kid to come in there and show some more, and maybe end up getting on the team, maybe as a walk-on, and maybe getting a supplemental type of scholarship, maybe pay for some books and some room and board in order to stay for the team to improve himself that 1 year, in order for that particular coach to go to the administration and say, yes, let's give him a full scholarship there. That's a dime a dozen there, and it doesn't happen all the doggone time. It needs to happen more, okay? Because, again, you got some kids out there who are very deserving of being on that campus and will do their all. And if they don't make the NBA or any other athletic premises there, they at least have an education that they can fall back on. I think that particular rule, or the one-and-done rule, needs to be looked at very harshly and hard, okay? I don't feel it's proper for Zion Williams to come on campus, tell Michael Ziegler, who is a very intelligent man, that I'm only staying for your program for 1 year, and no, I am not going to class. I don't care they throw me out in the street, and but they keep them, lie, cheat, and do whatever they have to do to keep that player on for 1 year, okay, until that player is gone, okay? It's not fitting, okay? So I think that rule needs to be dealt with, and the only persons or the element can help that a great way is the National Basketball Association in bringing on more supplemental leagues that these kids can go to right after high school if they don't plan on going to college, and being able to show their wares in a manner where they can be professionally looked at, or be able to give them a quicker shot to the NBA via those particular leagues.
Great topic. EJ, you wanted to ask one follow-up question to Butch before we move on to Dave's topic, so quickly, please.
Well, and I want to give Butch a little credit to his answer. There were some really valid points there. And I'll give you 60 seconds to answer, Butch. My question for you is, number one, and I'll state this, the NBA is not going to get these supplemental leagues in there because they're not drawing the crowds. But do you honestly believe that the NBA is a place that is allowing young boys to mature into men in a fashion that makes them productive in later years? I just don't see that there, and I don't think that that's a culture that's being preached there for maturity. What's your opinion on that?
again, I don't think the college is the place where they're going to get that maturity. I think that maturity is going to come from where they were raised. Okay, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, the friends that you carry around, your administration, those are the people who are going to give you that upside of being able to be mature, do things the right way, and come into a place like a Zion Williams and do their very, very best. Zion Williams, if you watch him speak and watch him talk per se there, his mind is already made up. He gave less than a damn if they won or not, because he knows he's going to get a better place. He got the opportunity that he needed is to let a floor of people such as ESPN and other stations watch him on the floor, brag and boast about his talents and everything else, brag and boast about his injuries and make those a big bad boogie bear account and whatever it may be. That kid from Joe public school, whatever it may be, who had a great year, who busted their rear end, who on top of their class in academics and whatnot, but yet still don't get don't have the head coach that can get maybe some coaches from college to come on in and watch the kids play. They're going to have a harder time to get in that booth there. I think the NBA will and can get other supplemental leagues available so those kids can have a better shot and opportunity to make professional basketball. Again, that maturity level has to come from the environment you're in. And yes, and still, and I'll say this, some of those kids don't get that maturity level and whatnot. They don't, and they'll never reach it because, again, their heads in other directions are there. But the ones who do, I'm betting you to a dozen of donuts that when Zion Williams walked on the campus of Duke, he had a lot of parents, a lot of grandpas, a lot of grandmas, a lot of cousins. Some of them are not his and what it may be, made sure that he walked the straight and narrow for that 1 year in order to make his name a decent name when it comes down to that draft.
Right, and the one last thing I want to say here is that I think you're kind of arguing a point on my side too, which is that I don't believe that there's a 1 year format where you send these kids to school and they lie, cheat, and steal their way to get into the next level. I think that that's the biggest problem right there. And I think that that's what's causing these controversies in the NCAA. And I think that that's what's causing the problems with these players as they get older. I think that this 1 year format endorses almost these teams to lie, cheat, and steal their way to get these players to their schools and win a national title in 1 year. Look at LSU and these other teams that are having scandals, Louisville the years back. I think the 1 year program for the NCAA basketball is a terrible format because it almost encourages these schools to find a way to win.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm with you on that there. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I just added some more fillings to the sandwich there to more or less that people need to start talking up a lot more, having a lot more conversations on why this is happening to some great kids out here who may get the effort to play ball or has not gotten that effort to play ball and have to go to a community college because, again, those scholarships are being ate up by kids who basically are not going to do what they were paid to do or was asked to do, and that's to get an education. If Zion Williams got at least a 1 year education, he's further ahead. But I'm betting, again, a dime to a dozen of donuts that that guy half-assed even went to school.
Love the topic. Great conversation, gentlemen. And lie, cheat, and steal. Butch reminds me of Eddie Guerrero back in the day. That was his tagline.
Oh, yeah.
I love Eddie Guerrero.
Conversation going. Great topic. Great comment. Dave McCaig. Kegger, let's go to you for your topic. We have time for at least one more, possibly two. I'll take first crack and then EJ and then Butch. So Dave McCaig, your go. What you thinking about tonight?
Oh, of course, I got to resort to hockey. I want to go playoff time around the corner. You got some playoff matches that have already been set. You have Kucherov, who's absolutely playing on a level that I haven't seen in
I can't even recall. I'm trying to think of the early late 90s, think of those times. This is something special we've been watching. Toronto's been absolutely imploding. They're in a big matchup against the Islanders right now. You have the Columbus Blue Jackets, Carolina, Montreal is absolutely having a dogfight for that bottom spot there in the wild card and squeaking in the playoffs and whatnot. Just an exciting time coming around the corner. Within the next couple of days, we should probably know who our first round playoff matchups are going to be. Just a full hockey review on this table, boys, is what I want to go for.
Yeah, if the playoffs started today, I will go first. And again, these matchups are very fluid, especially in the wild cards and some of these divisions. Right now, the first round matchups would be Tampa Bay against Carolina, Boston against Toronto, Washington against Columbus, and the Islanders against Pittsburgh. That in the East. In the West, and again, all these can change rather quickly. Winnipeg would take on Dallas, Nashville would take on St. Louis, Calgary would take on Colorado, and San Jose would take on Vegas. You look at right now in the East, obviously Tampa Bay is heads and shoulders above the rest. Just having a phenomenal year, 122 points. They still have 4 games left. They're going to pass the 60-win plateau. They're going to be tough to beat in a 7-game series by any of these teams. The Capitals, after maybe a bit of a slow start, at least for their sake, right now looks like they're going to win the Metropolitan Division. I still don't like saying that, but the Islanders are giving them a run at 99 points. The Penguins at 97, and you look at this wild card. It's going to be 3 teams going for 2 spots. Columbus with 94, Carolina with 93, and Montreal with 92. And so all those teams have 3 games left. It's going to be very interesting to see who gets in. That Carolina team, fun to watch, especially their antics after. I think I saw one where they played Duck Hunt, which I'm a big NES guy, so I kind of enjoyed that one. Out west, the Central Division, my goodness sakes, you have Winnipeg, Nashville, 94 points, St. Louis with 92. Who knows what's going to happen out there? Anybody could end up in any spot right now. Winnipeg has played 1 less games. Calgary, a quiet story, I think, maybe for people outside of Canada. Not many people in the U.S. are talking about the Calgary Flames, but, oh, by the way, they only have the best record in the West. Can they make a big run into the playoffs against some teams that maybe have more experience in the playoffs? It's hard to say. San Jose and Vegas, that would be a nice little matchup in the Pacific. Wild card, maybe not as wild out west, but you still have, maybe 3 teams going for that final spot. Colorado, Arizona, and Minnesota. So it's going to be very interesting to see where these teams fall here. By the time we talk next week, we probably will know most, if not all, of these first-round matchups. And, hey, playoff hockey, especially the first round, I love it. It's one of the most exciting things in sports as far as first-round playoffs in any sport. And some of the best hockey you'll probably see all season long. So I'm excited, Dave. Even though I don't have a horse in the race per se, it's going to be fun to see what happens. Are the Canadians, as far as the country of Canada, they're going to win their first Stanley Cup since 1993? In Montreal, there are a few teams that possibly could do it. But, boy, I just have a hard time seeing Tampa getting beat right now in a 7-game series. EJ Russell, your thoughts on Dave's topic, the NHL heading into the playoffs.
Well, I'll agree with you wholeheartedly. I think Tampa Bay's class in the NHL right now. I think that the Eastern Conference has all the power. I would not be I'd be very surprised to see a Western Conference team win the Cup this year. I just think between Tampa Bay, Boston, Washington, Toronto, the Islanders, the way they've been playing, which has been somewhat surprising with Jonathan Tavares moving to Toronto, I just don't see a way that the Eastern Conference loses there. My concern in the Eastern Conference is the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't think they've been playing very consistent all year. I see them exiting in the first or second round this year. I really believe that you're going to see Washington, Tampa Bay Eastern Conference final. But I agree with you, Scotty. I think Calgary is the best team that nobody's talking about in the NHL and definitely the best team in the Western Conference. And as American sports fans, I think that we neglect the NHL more than we should when, in my opinion, it has the best overall athletes in all of professional sports. You have to be smart. You have to be fast. You have to be strong. You have to be quick-witted. You have to have so many different skill sets to be good at hockey. And I believe that as far as being American sports fans, Calgary is a team that we overlook. I think that San Jose was a team that we were all watching this year. And I think that I'm a little bit surprised that they're not swinging more on the uptrend right now. I understand they're still the second best team in the Western Conference, but I expected them to be over the 100, if not 105, 110 point mark at this point in the year with adding Carlson into their lineup. I think that you're going to see a Calgary-San Jose Western Conference final, not because they're the 1 and 2 teams in their conferences. I just don't think that Nashville, Winnipeg, St. Louis have been playing as good. I mean, I'll give a lot of credit to Vegas for never missing the playoffs in franchise history, and I'm smiling as I say that. That's very good for them, and that's awesome. That's great for expanding the game, and the Western Conference is still wide open. But I think that Calgary and San Jose really are the 2 best teams. I think Johnny Gaudreau and that Calgary Flames team are absolutely fantastic, and I love what Johnny Gaudreau brings to the game. I love that he's a little guy. He reminds me a lot in the way that he plays of a guy like Martin St. Louis. Gritty, good passer, can score the puck, and quite a leader on his team. I love that, and Martin St. Louis was a guy that I loved. But who did he play for when he won his Stanley Cup? The Tampa Bay Lightning, and they really are the class of the NHL right now, leaps and bounds above everybody else. I think in the Eastern Conference, you're looking at maybe a Washington-Tampa Bay final, or I'll even say a Toronto-Tampa Bay final. I think that Toronto has enough talent on that team, especially with adding Tavares this year, that they have the ability to get there. You still got guys like Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews that are great players on that team. Regardless as to whether or not they get injured, I think that they still contribute to that team. I think you're looking at a Tampa Bay San Jose Stanley Cup final, if I have to predict it right now. I just think that Calgary's still on the edge of making it to that next level because they haven't been good in the last couple of years, where San Jose has been a perennial playoff team, a contender, and they added talent with Carlson. I think that they're really close, and I think that you're going to get a very interesting East-West matchup here. But I think that Tampa Bay, you got to give them the head nod here. They're the best team in the NHL, and they have been all year.
Let's go to you next. NHL heading into the playoffs. What's your thoughts?
I listened to all of this here, and I don't know. Do we really care? The first round is always the best round to watch because we always get some surprises. We always get some flips. We always be able to kind of second guess ourselves because everybody's in. There's no leave of absence when it comes down to getting into the first series of playoff games there. They're all wild and woolly. They're all tough. Defense gets tightened up to a no, not one. You can't refuse to see Tampa Bay and Calgary play for the finals. I'm just so sorry. I love San Jose. I like the Las Vegas team, the way they have come back after maybe a slow start in the beginning of the season to make themselves somewhat very much so credible again. But again, they'll have to prove themselves, which they did last year and made it big and ornery toward everybody in the NHL that, yes, you can come on in. You can get some good players in there who want to give you their all. And it's all going to be about just what I just said just a few minutes ago. It's the team that's going to give their all. So you cannot discount a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins, who basically had an in-and-out season this year. You cannot discount teams like Philadelphia. You cannot discount teams that basically, we talked last week about what's the team? Phoenix, okay, and being in that last place, okay, and look at the situation this week here, So we can't discount all of that there. I just can't wait for it to get cranked up next week and let them have at it, beat each other's brains out, and see what comes out the smoke. Because we're going to see some winners, we're going to see some losers, we're going to see some upsets.
Always fun indeed, Butch. The NHL playoffs upcoming. Dave, your thoughts on your own topic. You covered the Leafs in hour one, but we'll have you talk about this before we get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, gentlemen.
Oh, I definitely vented on Toronto a little bit in the first little bit of the show, and rightfully so. Just kind of a lot of question marks around the consistency of that team. And right now in action against the New York Islanders, they're scoreless at the end of one, and they're actually shooting the Islanders and actually playing with a bit more poise. Something that I have alluded to in the first part, where they need to start playing with. They're in a position right now that it seems like they don't want to finish third in their division. It seems like they want to finish in the wild card so they avoid the Boston Bruins in the first round. But jokes aside, that's going to be the first round matchup as it seems. Hopefully after tonight, the Maple Leafs can clinch. And that is a playoff series where I want to say something about the playoffs that I'm excited 100%. But one thing I want to allude to quickly is the playoff format. Okay. And I've talked about this on many editions of the Sioux Ontario version of the show and through our show from the Wicked Sister. I want to say that I'm not a fan of the playoff format, and no, not because Toronto's playing Boston. Okay. And not because Toronto has to play Tampa Bay in the second round. I get it. Brad Cochmelio said it perfectly that either way, when you get there, you got to play the team to get to the finals anyways. Either way, Toronto would have had to play Boston. Either way, Toronto would have had to play Tampa. But Steven Stamkos said it even more perfect in an interview earlier this week where he said that it's not fair to when you work hard all season, okay, and not that it's an easy matchup. They're NHL teams, okay, but if you're Toronto and you finish third in the Eastern Conference, wouldn't you rather play the Carolina Hurricanes in the first round opposed to potentially the Boston Bruins, opposed to like you play in your own division that way? Then Toronto, if they beat Boston or when Boston beats Toronto, either way, they got to play Tampa in the second round because it's the Atlantic Division round. So Tampa Bay is probably going to beat the first round. Let's be honest; they're Stanley Cup favorites for a reason. Those are two hard series. Okay, so let's say Toronto or Tampa or Boston beat the heck out of each other in the first, second round. They go into the third round. Is that team in the third round more fresh? Was Washington more fresh last year? So, yes, they won the Cup. They beat Vegas in decisive fashion. It wasn't like they won in 7. So does that mean that the Washington Capitals had an easier ride to the finals? That is maybe not the most appropriate thing to say, and Washington fans will probably hate that, but it's almost true. It is almost a fact that when you have this playoff format in place, it needs to change. That is something I just want to say quick with the format. I think they should have it laid out and then seeded and then play each other to get through there. Have the same layout with a wild card, but have it seeded afterwards. But going into the playoffs, I'm amped. I'm excited, and Toronto better clinch tonight, okay? Or else if Toronto waits till the last game of the season, if they lose their next 2 games and Montreal wins their next 2, and it comes down to the last game of the year for Toronto to make the playoffs, I might jump out my apartment window. And I don't mean that in an apartment. I'm done with the stressing out. I'm done
live
with
on the first floor, Dave.
Yeah, I'm on the 3rd floor, to be honest. It's a pretty high fall, but I got some body fat now to bounce off of the dad bod here. So I can tell you right now, I might bounce if I hit the ground. But the main thing is, I don't like the way the Leafs are playing now. But if they have to wait till the last game of the season to clinch, I'd hate that. But again, it is NHL hockey. We'll see what happens. I'm confident Toronto will get it done. But look at other matchups: Vegas, San Jose. Pumped about that. We had Colin Miller on the show a couple weeks ago, and he was saying how the rivalry is so big now with San Jose. I'm going to love that first round. Okay, right? And Winnipeg, I know some people may disagree, but I actually have them coming out of the Western Conference. And a big reason why I got Winnipeg is, yeah, they're Canadian. I may sound biased saying that, but they were so close last year. Okay, and they have an even more all-around team. I wouldn't say necessarily a better team than last year, but more all-around team that I think can actually get them over the hump. The addition of Kevin Hayes is a big addition to the Winnipeg Jets. And Nashville having Wayne Simmons. I know he hasn't done as great as people thought, but you wait till playoff time. When your third, fourth line and your third pairing defense are the big reason why you win games, you'll see where Wayne Simmons really steps out and really gets pointed out in games. I'm pumped for the playoffs. The Eastern Conference is an absolute fire show. Games are going to be 6-5, 5-6. Unless you're Tampa, they might win 8-2. But besides the point, at the end of the day, it's going to be very competitive series all around. Couldn't be more excited. Excited to see what the matchups are going to be when they're finalized, especially when it comes to that great metropolitan division that Scott loves to say. If Columbus doesn't make it, there's going to be a fire sale in Columbus. I'm sure EJ can say Ohio will probably set fire because of all the trades they made. Did Columbus? They only have a 3rd and 7th round pick right now this year after trading for Duchesne, Dzingel, and Panarin and Bobrovsky, none but gone after the season. It'd be an absolute crapshoot. You have Carolina with success story. Everyone thought these guys were going to be a joke. The only joke they have is their end of game celebrations that they're not doing any longer now. But I think that with the Carolina Hurricanes, they have a very exciting hockey team to watch, and they're very good defensively with Pesce, Slavin, Hamilton, Falk. They got some good D back there. Heck, if Toronto had that D-core, they may as well give Toronto the Stanley Cup. That's how good the D-core is in Carolina. So I'm going to say right now, at the end of the day, excited to see what happens. Excited to see how these first round goes. Even if Toronto's playing Boston, it's going to be some good hockey. But keep your eyes out for Winnipeg. They will make the Stanley Cup Finals this year. I'm sorry to Colin Miller, who's a friend and listener of the show, but I got Winnipeg coming out of the West. And out of the East, I'm not going to say who I have coming out of the East because I don't want to hoax my own team or doubt my own team. So you can take that wherever it says right there.
Very good, gentlemen. Let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. I'm going to save my topic for next week. It's not real time sensitive, so we can do that next week. Thumbs up. Michigan State Spartans basketball. This is a year that has had its share of challenges for Michigan State. They did win the Big Ten regular season title and the playoff title. A shaky start to the tournament, but they have played very well, and no time had they played better than yesterday's regional final against Duke. It was a tenuous time watching it at the Nason household with my kids and my girlfriend. Even my puppy got into it. It was nerve-wracking, but it was a great result, and I love that a fifth-year walk-on senior Kenny Goins hit the go-ahead shot against the one and done the Blue Devils, the Duke Blue Devils, and so hopefully Michigan State can continue their solid play. Thumbs down to the WCHA and the Minnesota State Mavericks in the NCAA hockey tournament. Boy, this team year in and year out wins the WCHA, and they get to the tournament and they just cannot get it done. They had a 3-0 lead over Providence and fall 6-3. And another thumbs down just to the NCAA hockey tournament format. These regional sites have got to go. They're playing in front of half-empty stadiums. You have Minnesota State, who's a 1 seed, and they have to go play at the 4 seeds home in Providence. That doesn't make any sense. Can you imagine Duke getting a 1 seed and having to go play at the 4 seed Kentucky or whatever? It's ridiculous. NCAA hockey should go back to the host sites. You play 2 out of 3 at the host site. You fill the rink. You make it exciting. College hockey tournament, just it's boring. It's almost unwatchable. EJ Russell, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
I am happy to report that I 100% do not have a thumbs down this week. I thought it's been a fantastic week in sports. Baseball starting. Football camps are starting voluntary workouts. NBA is going on. The NHL is wrapping up the year. So many exciting things going on. So I really don't have a thumbs down this week. I do want to give 2 thumbs up. And I want to give 1 thumbs up to the Michigan State Spartans men's basketball team for beating the Duke Blue Devils, who were assumed by many people to be the best team in college basketball this year. So thumbs up to Michigan State and Coach Izzo for finding a way to win that game. And I want to point this out, 17-7 in turnovers in that game. Okay, that's the biggest difference in turnovers between any of the teams in the Final Four. So watch out for Michigan State to continue to play great basketball. I'm excited to see what they have to do. I am riding the Auburn train. My second thumbs up for the week, though, has got to be the Auburn Tigers. I'm riding the wave. I picked them to make it to the championship game. If they continue to play the way they have this entire tournament, I see them being a legitimate contender for the national championship. NCAA tournament has my focus, but as that wraps up, we're going to start going to the NHL Playoffs and MLB baseball and all the other fun stuff going on. So thumbs up to the Michigan State Spartans. Thumbs up to the Auburn Tigers. No thumbs down for the week.
Thank you, EJ. Let's go to Butch Davis for his thumbs up and thumbs down for the week.
Well, you got to give the Michigan State for a thumbs up there. I'm going to give a great thumbs up for Nate Oates, who left Buffalo to go to Alabama there. Nate Oates, if you don't know, he is from used to be the coach at the Romulus High School here in Downriver area. Many players come out. Grant Long, you can name him, Terry Mills. The list goes on and on of the players he's had there. I think Alabama's going to get over the hump now as far as their woes in basketball, per se, with Nate Oates being there. Congratulations to him on that. Thumbs down go to the mess in Florida there, where basically Mr. Kraft may not go do any jail time or anything of that nature because the negotiations are in fresh progress there to keep his one and done rap of doing whatever it may be he did. A great big fat secret there. And you or I got caught in that particular position, we would be under the jail. Okay. And this guy may not get any time or any service at all there. I think it's ludicrous there. So there you have it, boys and girls.
That's one video I don't think anybody in the world wants to see from that place. Dave McCaig, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir. Yikes.
You know what?
Go ahead, Dave. I think we might have lost Dave McCaig. Dave,
No,
I'm
good.
Got too frazzled by that Robert Kraft video. Dave, are you with us?
Nobody wants to see that. That frazzled me too.
Yeah, I lost connection there for a second.
There we got you back. Go ahead, Dave.
Go. I apologize, boys. I heard all the topics. I promise. Or all the thumbs up and thumbs down.
He's out walking his dog again.
Listen, this dog I've been fostering from Northern Critters, I must say, is an absolute stuff.
It's a good-looking dog.
He's a looking dog.
It is a cute dog.
He is, but yeah, I had to take him out. But anyways, thumbs up and thumbs down. I got to start thumbs down. Not like EJ. I got to be negative here towards the Duke Blue Devils losing. Not because they lost to a bad basketball team, because Michigan State's absolutely a good basketball team. But just, overall losing in general. Expectations are high. When you're expected to win, sometimes you have a little disappointment, and I'm sure Duke is quite disappointed that they're not going to be going on in the NCAA March Madness tournament. And as fans should be pretty upset as well, because we had a lot of expectations, especially with the talent that they have. But hey, that's basketball. So I'm just going to give them a thumbs down because if they weren't able to move on in the tournament. Now, thumbs up. If I want to go with a thumbs up, I'm actually going to go the baseball route here, okay? And I'm going to go towards the realm of Trent Thornton of the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, I'm sure Scott knows this, but in his 5 innings in his debut with the Toronto Blue Jays, yes, against the Detroit Tigers, which I think might have just as bad as a season as the Toronto Blue Jays this year, he struck out 8 batters in 5 innings, which was a record for the Toronto Blue Jays in a debut, believe it or not, which was more than, there's a pitcher, Matt Boyd, who currently plays for the Tigers, I believe, unless he got moved on, but then even had more than David Price did in his debut, which was an absolute good little preview to see. The 25-year-old pitcher getting the opportunity to get in on the mound, given an injury on the mound, so he goes in 5 innings, 8 strikeouts. I got to give him the thumbs up. Overall there, it's fantastic to see. And I'm going to give another thumbs up here, my last one. Giving 2 thumbs up today, of course, the Soo College Cougars men's hockey team, winning the Division III National Championship.
Yes!
The first team to do it, which was absolutely fantastic. You can see it on our Facebook page and Instagram pages where I uploaded it. Actually, Justin Heichel uploaded the Instagram feed and myself on Facebook, but we uploaded where you can read the article that was brought to you by the Soo Greyhounds Facebook page. Great work by the Soo College Cougars. Fantastic. Very happy to see that. A lot of friends on the team play with those guys still. Well deserved. They absolutely throttled the opponents, and congratulations to Soo College for walking away with the national championship.
Very good, gentlemen. Let's go around the horn one more time before we end the show. EJ Russell on the hot seat, sponsored by Riverside Toyota and Escanaba, where you can get a great vehicle from EJ. Just call him up. He'll hook you up. EJ, what do you have in store this week, and how are things going overall?
Well, I just want to say that's probably the best plug you've ever given me. Ever.
Worked on that one.
That was awesome. But I know I want to say this. Dave's been working at helping animals get adopted. I think that's awesome. So if you're interested in getting yourself a pet, reach out to him, reach out to those people that he knows, because I know he's doing a lot of good work with that. I'll give another thumbs up here to Dave. But happy to be here, happy to wrap up the NCAA basketball season as we're coming to the end here. The Final Four is absolutely going to be fantastic. I think we have a great mix of teams. I don't think that many people had all 4 Final Four teams. If you do, congratulations, you deserve that. But Major League Baseball kicking off. My Cleveland Indians with some early season struggles. The team that I'm most excited to watch this year, and a lot of people haven't been talking about, is Cincinnati Reds with adding Yasiel Puig. I'm excited to see where they come out in their division. But just happy to be here, as always, doing the radio show. I'm sitting in my favorite establishment right now, and the owner is mocking me as I'm doing this. But excited to be here, excited to talk about sports, and excited to see a final national championship game between Michigan State and the Auburn Tigers. I'm calling that right now.
EJ will be on a couple hours before that game next Monday at the Wicked Sister. We hope you can join us then, and have a great week, my friend. Thanks for joining us. All right, let's go to Butch
Scotty.
Davis. Butch, I know it's opening day at Comerica Park on Thursday for the Detroit Tigers. Weather conditions look a little chilly for that game, but I know you're going to be warm and be there covering the game. What's on tap for you, my friend?
Yeah, with plenty of ice packs and pain medication probably. I don't know, but hey, I'm going to get there. Hook or crook here, there'll be my 24th home opener here, and
wow.
And that's a lot of home openers. I don't want to miss this one because I just think the Tigers are going to be a little bit better than what people kind of guesstimate them to be, and hopefully our coaches and general managers are going to be a lot more aggressive in giving the fans what they want, some wins. That and just in Wrestlemania. I'm ready for this weekend because it's the beginning of goodies, humongous there, followed by this month's my birthday and all here. I'm looking for pints and whatnot to be sent via Sault Ste. Marie through all you guys there to kind of wet my whistle here and be happy and jolly there. And EJ, I need a car anyway here, so Esplanade, it would be the place to be. I'll buy my car or something. I don't know.
Hey, Toyota Camrys are beautiful, so are the RAV4s. Great financing available, blah, 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 BS.
Good credit, bad credit, I don't know, huh?
All right, we'll bring the car to you.
Hey, all right now.
Butch, I want to thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you next week from the Wicked Sister. Again, you can catch Butch's shows on our podcast page, thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or go to Butch's podcast page, simply Butch2, that's too.podomatic.com. Butch, we'll talk to you next week from the Wicked Sister, my friend.
Okay.
And Dave McCaig, host of the Game Sports Show from Soo, Ontario. I know you always have a busy schedule. What is up this week for the Game Sports Show?
We do plan to have all 3 shows this week. Again, we'll be at Icebreakers tomorrow at 8 o'clock. The panel to be determined. I'm still working out plans with Brad Cochimilio. We do plan for Dane to be there. It'll be Dane's last week before he goes back to Red Lake, actually. So we plan to have him on the Tuesday and Thursday show. So Tuesday, Icebreakers, 8 o'clock. Everything local, a little professional talk as well. Wednesday, we'll be at Sports Center at that Sports Bar and Grill. And then on Thursday, we will be at Northern Superior Brewing Company, and that will be at 7 o'clock. We plan to be there. We also have Brian Venderman hopefully planning to come by from the Soo College Cougars men's hockey team, and be an action-packed week as always. For all 3 shows, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Dave, thanks for coming on the game. We'll talk to you next Monday from the Wicked Sister, my friend.
Sounds good, Scotty. See you, Butch. See you, EJ.
All right. Take care, y'all.
Later, hater.
All right, that's going to do it here for the game. We will talk to you next Monday night for another edition of the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com.
See you.